Hello, everybody. So, we're going to talk about strategies for decreasing stressful behaviors. This is Chapter 14 Highlights. Okay, so first, let's talk about behaviors in general. So, health behaviors are specific behaviors that we do in order to maintain our health. So doing specific things like limiting our intake of sugar, making sure that we're eating enough fruits and vegetables, maybe quitting smoking, getting enough exercise in on a daily basis. And lifestyle behaviors are all behaviors, whether we are going grocery shopping, maybe we're doing our chores, we're washing our dishes, washing our laundry, listening intently to a lecture, driving from place to place. Lifestyle behaviors are all of the behaviors that we engage in. All right, so the struggle is real. We get stressed out by engaging in behaviors that we know are unhealthy and unproductive, yet cannot quit. And also, we get stressed out by not engaging in behaviors that we know are healthy and productive, yet we are not motivated to start. So, for example, some behaviors that are unhealthy, unproductive, we should try to quit them. Things like eating junk food, sleeping in too late, watching too much Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, procrastinating, smoking, drinking alcohol in excess, and using social media too much. And behaviors worth adopting, making sure that we're eating a balanced diet, exercising on a regular basis, staying organized, studying when we should, going to bed earlier, getting enough sleep, spending more time with family, and drinking enough water. So why don't we quit these behaviors, or why don't we do them? Excuses. A lot of individuals give a lot of excuses, things like I'm not blank enough, and you can insert whatever word you'd like to there, or I don't have enough energy, it's too hard, I'm intimidated, I'll do it later, I have bad genetics, so it'll just never work out. Usually this is more so pointed at exercise and weight loss, or I don't have enough money, it's too expensive, depending on what we're trying to work on here. Maybe joining a gym is too expensive, or hiring a trainer is too expensive, but again, that's just an excuse. You can always get fit and get healthy without the help of a trainer. Or saying things like I'm too old. You want to be really careful with saying I'm too old, because that's a mindset. We don't want to get stuck in that mindset. If you start to think it, you start to believe it, and then it's just going to manifest. So we want to stay away from that completely. I can't do it. I don't know where to start. I need to focus on blank. You can fill that in. And finally, the most popular excuse is that I don't have enough time. So excuses are, these barriers that stop us from doing the things that we need to do or doing the things that we want to do. So, like I said previously, these barriers, these reasons that we justify why we do or do not do certain things, these are excuses. But we want to stay away from the word excuse, just because excuses refer to an internal fault, and an internal fault is something that you literally cannot overcome. Maybe I can't walk because my legs, I'm paralyzed, for example. That is not an excuse not to exercise, because there are a lot of successful paraplegic, quadriplegic athletes, but just an example. But anyways, barriers, if we start referring to those things as barriers, barriers can be overcome. We can find different ways around those barriers, so we can either stop doing the things that we don't want to do anymore, or start doing the things that we want to do. And a lot of this goes back to locus of control. What is that again? So remember, if an individual has an internal locus of control, they believe that they have the choice, that they can have an effect on their outcome. And individuals with an external locus of control, their fate, their destiny is controlled by outside sources. All right, let's talk about a few different methods to decrease stressful behaviors. So the first is self-monitoring. So self-monitoring is observing and recording your behavior. So doing something like keeping a stress log if you want to manipulate the way you manage your stress, or maybe you want to change your eating habits. So you start logging everything that you eat on MyFitnessPal. Both of these are really good examples of self-monitoring. You're taking notes on all of your behaviors, and you're trying to see when you do certain things based on maybe certain times in the day, or maybe when you interact with specific people. So self-monitoring is very effective, but it also is very troublesome because it requires, it's a lot of work to go back and write and log everything that you're doing. And then we have tailoring. And when it comes to tailoring, we are making changes that are specific to the individual's life. So if you have trouble paying your bills on time, try to put all your accounts on auto pay so you don't miss your payments again. Or if you have trouble saving money, have all of your checks from work go straight to your bank account through direct deposit, and maybe have most of that sent and put away in your savings account. And then we have shaping. So shaping is changing our behaviors very slowly in a stepwise fashion, because it's very difficult to quit something or stop something. Stopping the behavior all at once. So doing something like quitting smoking cold turkey, where you just throw away all of your cigarettes and just stop smoking all at once. That's really difficult for individuals to do. And most individuals that quit something cold turkey, they end up going back to that undesired behavior. So with shaping, we are going to start doing something or stop doing something very slowly. So let's take smoking again, for example. So if I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, I'm going to start by smoking, one cigarette less than that. And then eventually, little by little, I'm only smoking, a couple cigarettes a day, and then eventually no cigarettes per day. And then we have reminders. So leaving ourselves little reminders to either stop or to either start doing a specific behavior. Reminders can come in the form of leaving yourself a little note in your written planner, leaving yourself a post-it note somewhere, or leaving yourself a reminder on your cell phone. Okay, so other methods to decrease stressful behaviors. So things like reinforcement. We have two different types of reinforcement here. Material reinforcement is reinforcing that desired behavior with a tangible object. So you successfully perform that behavior on a regular basis, and you are going to treat yourself. So you're going to treat yourself with a tangible thing. Maybe you're going to buy yourself a new pair of shoes that you've been wanting, or maybe you're going to take a nice little trip somewhere and go visit a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. When it comes to rewarding yourself with objects, we want to make sure that you're not rewarding yourself with food. You're not a puppy, and we don't want to get into that bad habit where you do something great and then you just, you go and you reward yourself with a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and then 10 to 15 pounds later we're trying to fix another problem. We're trying to, we have to lose the 10 to 15 pounds that we gained with rewarding ourselves with Ben and Jerry's ice cream. So if you're going to reward yourself with an object, just make sure it's something that's tangible, a piece of clothing, or reward yourself with an experience. So like a trip, or like going to the spa, a manicure, a pedicure, things like that. Okay, and then we have social reinforcement. Social reinforcement is, when friends, family members give you a high five, a pat on the back, and they tell you that you're doing an amazing job. So CrossFit is actually a really cool place where this happens on a regular basis. If you go to a CrossFit gym, or if you have any friends that go to CrossFit gyms, they might tell you that there's a very big sense of social support in that gym, because everybody is there to support each other. They're cheering each other on until that last person is done completing their workout. But you want to be really careful with social reinforcement, because you shouldn't always expect a pat on the back or high five whenever you're done doing something for yourself. You have to learn how to be your own cheerleader as well. Okay, moving on and talking about social support in general. So, reaching out to friends or family members to help you, whether you're trying to find a workout buddy, if you're trying to build that new habit of engaging in regular physical activity. If you need help changing another behavior that's really, really specific, maybe you're trying to stop drinking, you can go to Alcoholics Anonymous, or you can go to Weight Watchers to help lose weight. Going to a social help group has been very effective, because all of those individuals that are in that place are there with the same common goal, or they're there to share different experiences. A really good place to find these specific groups is a website called meetup.com. And meetup.com has a lot more than just these social help groups, whether you're trying to stop gambling or stop drinking or lose weight, etc. If you have an interest in anything, you type it in on meetup.com, I guarantee that you'll be able to find a group that is interested in the things that you are interested in, which is pretty cool. And then finally, seeking professional help. So if you are not comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings with individuals that you don't know, you can always seek professional help. So, seeking out a doctor, a nurse, psychologist, counselor, therapist, social worker, or even a health educator, they are available to assist you in health and lifestyle behavior changes. All right, a few important theories of behavior change that I wanted to discuss really quickly. The first is the trans-theoretical model, also known as the stages of change model. And these are all of the stages of the trans-theoretical model. We have pre-contemplation, where we have an individual that is either resisting change or not thinking about changing, because maybe, they don't think they have a problem, they don't know what's going on, or maybe they do have a problem, they acknowledge that they have a problem, but they just blatantly do not want to change. And then we have contemplation. That individual is thinking about changing sometime within the next 6 months. Moving on to the decision and / determination stage, that individual has achieved the desire to change, but they don't know how. The action stage, at this point, this individual has a specific plan of action. They have specific goals written out. They know exactly what they want. And during this stage is the most exhausting. It requires the most amount of work. And at this stage, individuals are at the greatest risk for relapse and saying, the heck with this, I'm going to go back to my old behavior because this is too much work. I'm going to go back to being sedentary, working out on a regular basis. It's just exhausting. I'm tired. I just want to sit on the couch after work. So again, action stage, a lot of time, commitment, and work is being put in here. But if they stick it out, they will reach the maintenance stage. And at that point, the individual has maintained that new desired behavior for at least 6 months or longer. And during the maintenance stage, that individual might be at risk for, going back to that old behavior, but they can quickly come back to that new desired behavior because it's now a part of their lifestyle. Okay, so moving on to the health belief model, there are 6 different things that all revolve around that person's health. So we have perceived susceptibility, and that is the individual's perception of the likelihood of them getting that specific condition. What is that individual's perceived susceptibility of them getting diabetes if they don't start watching what they're eating and if they don't start becoming physically active? And then we have the perceived severity. So this is that individual's perception of how severe the health consequence will be if it is to occur. And the perceived benefits. So what are their benefits? What is their perception of the effectiveness of this behavior change? Do they perceive that they are going to become, extremely healthy? They're going to lose a lot of weight. They're going to feel really good. And then we have perceived barriers. So this is the individual's perception of the costs that are associated with behavior change. So this usually, this individual, when they're thinking about the perceived barriers, what are the costs that are associated if I take on this new habit or this new lifestyle? Okay, well, if I start eating right and if I start exercising more, well, I'm not going to be able to have pizza, every few days like I usually do. If I start exercising, that's going to take away from my TV time. And then cues to action. These are all of our strategies for behavior change. So like all of the ones that I mentioned previously. So things like self-monitoring, tailoring, shaping, reminders, social support. And then finally, self-efficacy, which we've discussed previously in class. This is an individual's confidence in their ability to change their behavior. So actually talking about self-efficacy, one of the best ways to increase an individual's self-efficacy is with goal setting. So when we're setting goals, we want to make sure that we take these things into account. We want to make sure that the goal is moderately difficult. If the goal is too easy, the person's going to achieve it. They're going to say, oh, why even bother? This was super easy. Or if it's too hard, they're not going to be able to reach that goal and they're going to quit. And they're going to think, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I can't keep going. If I can't reach this goal, I won't be able to reach any goal. So we want to make sure, again, that that goal is moderately difficult. We want to make sure that that individual sets both proximal and distal goals. So let me give you an example of a distal goal. So this would be like an individual stating that they would like to lose 100 pounds in a year, for example. That is a phenomenal goal. However, we need to build up smaller goals along the way to that distal goal. So a good proximal goal would be, I want to lose 4 pounds, 3 to 4 pounds at the end of this week. That individual reaches that goal at the end of the week, they start to feel really good about themselves, their self-efficacy goes up, and then they continue reaching those small goals on the way to their large goal. And then just like I said, if that individual has a higher level of self-efficacy, they're likely to set more difficult goals, and they are also more likely to reach those goals as well. And then finally, is this goal important to you? It should be important, because if it's not important, why are you doing it? So when we're setting goals, we want to make sure that our goals are SMART. I'll get to smarter in a bit, but SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. Examples of goals that are not SMART, saying things like, I want to get fit, I want to change my eating habits, I want to stop procrastinating. Well, those things are all fantastic. Those do not contain the components of a SMART goal. A SMART goal would be something like, I want to decrease my mile run time from 10 minutes to 8 minutes, and I'm going to give myself 6 months to achieve this goal. That is fantastic. So along with the smarter goal, we should also have the smarter built into that, so that ER, evaluate, and then rewrite/revise. So let's take our SMART goal here. I want to decrease my mile run time from 10 minutes to 8 minutes, and you're going to give yourself 6 months to do that. So let's say, you've written out your training program, you've started your cardiovascular training program, and you're about 4 to 6 weeks in. And 4 to 6 weeks in, you're going to evaluate yourself. So you're going to perform another assessment. Ideally, at the beginning of your training program, you would have done an assessment, maybe a mile run or a 20-minute run, just to kind of see where your fitness level is at. So we're going to perform another assessment 4 to 6 weeks in, and based on our performance, we're going to see if, are we improving? Is our performance getting worse? Am I staying exactly the same? If that individual is still improving, fantastic. Let's continue with the plan. Then there's no reason to rewrite or revise the plan or the goal. But let's say if if our performance is staying stagnant or our performance is decreasing, then we need to consider either rewriting our program or revising our goal. Maybe we set out a goal that was a little too big, a little too challenging for ourselves. So we want to make sure that we keep those in there. Smarter goals. Okay, that's it. Those were chapter 14 highlights.